Before operating an FMTV on a side slope, you need to make sure that your CTIS setting is in highway. Any other setting would put more roll into the vehicle and cause it to become more unstable.
The FMTV is designed to navigate a 30% side slope. Certain variations, such as the van, have a higher center of gravity and therefore are less stable on side slopes. It's important to remember that as your load increases, your center of gravity becomes higher, making your vehicle less stable and more likely to roll. While it's best to avoid side slopes whenever possible, there may be times in off-road situations where they're unavoidable. Put your CTIS in highway mode. This will make the sidewalls of your tires flex less, making your FMTV more stable. Move slowly, using a ground guide if at all possible. If you feel that the FMTV is beginning to slide or that the side slope is becoming too steep, turn the vehicle downhill until you reach a safe area. Do not turn your vehicle uphill, as this makes it unstable and subject to a rollover. While driving, remember that the load in your FMTV is going to greatly affect how your truck handles. We've seen that an unloaded FMTV can traverse a more severe side slope than a loaded one. This because as the load increases, the center of gravity becomes higher, making the vehicle less stable. This translates directly to driving the FMTV every day on roads and highways. The heavier and higher your load becomes, the more the handling characteristics of the vehicle deteriorate. A curve taken every day at 40 miles an hour in an unloaded FMTV could turn into a rollover situation if done at the same speed when fully loaded. Simply stated, more weight and height equals lower vehicle performance limits. Be safe and keep it slow. If you used to drive the M35A2 or M939, you'll notice that the FMTV is much easier to turn. Its turning radius is much tighter. While this makes the FMTV easier to maneuver, it can also be dangerous if not adjusted for while driving. As this M35A2 moves through a slalom course at 25 miles an hour, notice how much the test driver must turn the steering wheel back and forth to maneuver through the cones. On the other hand, the FMTV test driver has to turn the wheel much less to complete the same course. It's easy to see that the steering response on the FMTV is much more efficient. If you previously drove the M35A2 or M939, you need to practice responding to demanding driving situations with a lighter touch. Until you become familiar with its specific driving characteristics, use additional caution while operating the FMTV. Overconfidence and lack of attention could contribute to you drifting onto the shoulder of a road while on a mission. If this occurs, do not overreact and do not jerk the steering wheel back towards the road. This could cause the FMTV to overturn. Instead, ease off the accelerator and avoid braking hard. As you gain control of the vehicle, ease it back onto the road using slight turns of the steering wheel. Once safely back on the road, you can accelerate back to speed. Keep in mind that the improved performance and comfort of the FMTV make it possible to drive at a higher rate of speed with less effort. It is important that you observe posted speed limits, keeping in mind your load, the weather conditions, and adjusting accordingly. Additionally, make sure there is enough distance between you and the vehicle you are following. The general rule is to have at least 3 seconds distance between you and the next vehicle. But in adverse weather such as rain or snow, or when transporting a heavy load, this distance must be increased. You must also be aware of the sensitivity of the FMTV's braking system. Braking when lightly loaded or empty on wet pavement can lead to wheel lockup. As always, use light, steady pressure on the brakes and don't pump them. Before hitting the road, there are a few more things you should know about the safe operation of various FMTVs. Whenever backing any FMTV, with or without a trailer, use at least one ground guide, 2 if possible.
Always have a ground guide. Ensure the ground guide knows what he's doing. He knows the proper arm and hand signals.
And while backing the vehicle, you never want to lose sight of your trailer to avoid possible jackknife and damage to the tractor or trailer.
Always keep the trailer in your line of sight. Never lose the sight of the trailer. Always ensure that there's nothing behind you that you can back into.
If you're operating the dump truck, never dump the load if the vehicle is parked on a side slope. As the bed of the FMTV is raised, this also raises its center of gravity. If done on a side slope, this higher center of gravity could cause the truck to roll over. You know that the van has a higher center of gravity than other variants of the FMTV. Because of this, you need to be more cautious in day-to-day operations, particularly when off-road and on side slopes.
Anytime you're loading the FMTV van, you want to make sure that you load with your heaviest objects as low as you can in the van, because that affects the center of gravity, which could cause an inadvertent rollover.
Simply place the heaviest items on the bottom when loading the van. This will help keep the center of gravity down and decrease the chances of a rollover. When operating the M1088 tractor trailer, it's vital you use the correct position of the fifth wheel at all times. When coupling and uncoupling from the trailer and while driving with the trailer, the fifth wheel must be in its most forward position. Only when loading ships or airplanes should the fifth wheel be moved to its rearward position. Failure to adhere to these guidelines will cause damage to your FMTV. As you have seen, the FMTV is a superior performer. To stay safe and to get the most from your vehicle, remember the following. PMCS is the single most important thing you need to do in order to keep your FMTV safe. Take care of your vehicle, and it will take care of you. When ascending or descending steep hills, lock your transfer into mode. When braking, use light, even pressure and do not pump the brakes. If stuck ascending a hill, do not attempt to turn the vehicle around. Instead, perform a back-down procedure using a ground guide. On side slopes, make sure your CTIS is set on highway. To escape a side slope which is too steep, turn the FMTV downhill. Be alert to the impact of loads on your FMTV. The greater the load, the more vehicle performance is affected negatively. Don't overreact. Using too much steering wheel input or braking could cause you to lose control. Keep plenty of distance between you and the vehicle you are following. In adverse conditions or when off-road, increase these distances accordingly. Always use ground guides when backing the FMTV. Remember, when you climb behind the wheel of your FMTV, you become a manager of two things: time and space. In order to effectively manage both, it is important that you become completely familiar with the operational characteristics of your vehicle. Professional drivers are constantly aware of their speed, road conditions, and the distance to objects around them. This allows them to effectively manage their reaction time as the space between their vehicle and the closest object decreases. Using common sense, observing posted speeds, and becoming familiar with the capabilities and limitations of your FMTV will make you an effective manager of time and space, and will allow you to become an effective, much-needed asset in today's Army.
Well, I've never gotten an FMTV stuck, and I've got it do stuck many a time.
You can get in any type of situation, change your tire pressure, and it'll move right on. You ain't got to worry about nothing.